At the wedding, she picked him over me, so I took her best friend as my bride instead. Her reaction was priceless. My name is Daniel. I am 38, and for most of my adult life I believed I was a solid, ordinary man. I work as a paramedic. I know how to keep a pulse steady and a voice calm when the room is full of fear. I thought those skills would carry me through marriage, too. Steady voice, calm hands, faith that people show up for each other when it matters. Olivia and I met in a grocery line during a storm, sharing the last umbrella. She liked how I listened. I liked how she made the worst day feel almost lit from within. People said we balanced each other. She was sharp edges and shining plans. I was quiet steps and sure ground. The months before our wedding, I kept sensing a draft I could not locate. It moved through conversations when the budget came up, or when she angled her phone away to photograph the ring against latte foam. She chased partnerships, as she called them, with a wedding brand and a hotel downtown. If we can get comped sweets and floral sponsors, she said, hand on my shoulder like she was pitching a patient on morphine, we save thousands. I nodded because saving sounded wise. But then the saves came with strings. Tag this, post that, co-host a live Q&A about how we built our love. I felt like a prop shaped like a man. Her best friend since middle school, Maya, handled the bachelorette details. Maya was smarter than she let on and kinder than she admitted. She would pull me aside and ask, "You okay?" in a voice that made it easy to tell the truth. I always said yes. I believed the draft would stop once the doors closed and vows began. In the quiet of our small apartment the night before, I ironed my shirt and practiced the line about choosing each other in ordinary hours. Olivia paced, rehearsing different ways of saying my name for the rehearsal dinner toast. When she finally slept, her phone lit the room with messages arriving at 2:13 a.m. I looked away. I was not a snooper. I wanted to be a husband who trusted his wife. Our ceremony was in a renovated brick hall that used to be a train depot. Rows of white chairs, a string quartet by the window, friends holding their phones like periscopes to catch the moment love turned official. Olivia came down the aisle not as a person, but as an event. She glowed. She squeezed my hands when the officiant asked if she would take me. And then she let go. Voices rose behind us, a ripple of whispers, because a man in a navy suit stepped forward from the second row. The owner of the hotel, Ethan, tall, with the careful smile of someone used to tables stopping when he enters. Olivia turned toward him like a sunflower turns to light. Someone laughed softly, that brittle laugh people use when they want to believe we're still playing by the same rules. My mouth went dry. The officiant said my name again, a question this time. Olivia's bouquet trembled and then stilled. "I can't," she said. "I'm sorry." Ethan did not touch her. He only stood there, letting the room understand that her apology had an address that was not mine. I heard my heart like a metronome in a training lecture. The beat that means keep the pressure, keep the breath moving, keep yourself small and useful until the danger passes. But this danger had my name printed on the program. I looked at Maya. She shook her head once, hard, eyes wet, then looked down at her hands. Phones lifted. Captions wrote themselves. I could have begged or shouted. My job trains out both impulses. I only nodded, found the ring box in my pocket, and placed it on the little table by the flowers like returning borrowed equipment. When I stepped back, the room made space around me, the way people do near an accident when they don't want to see blood. I walked down the aisle alone, past people I had known for years, and into the corridor where the old depot bricks held their chill. In front of everyone, Olivia took his hand instead of mine. Out in the service hallway, I leaned against a steel door and breathed the way I coached strangers in the back of an ambulance. In through the nose. Hold. Out through the mouth. The ring left a round mark in my pocket that pressed into my thigh. I thought about our first apartment, the coffee cups we never matched, the shelf I built in the bathroom that slanted a little but held everything we needed. I felt shame come up like heat. Then I felt anger ride in behind it, steady and clean, like an engine that finally caught. I texted my captain that I would be unreachable for a day. I texted my mother 3 words, "I'm all right," because I knew someone would call her. People love to deliver other people's bad news. I asked the venue manager for the unpaid invoices and paid them. I thanked the quartet. I told the florist the arrangements were beautiful. The acts were small, but they were mine. When I stepped back into the corridor, Maya was waiting with red eyes and a posture like she was bracing for a hit. "Daniel," she said, voice raw. "I am so sorry." I shrugged because tears make me clumsy. "It is not on you." She looked over her shoulder to make sure no one followed. "It is not random," she said. "He has been courting her brand for weeks. The hotel, the partnerships, the visibility. She thinks this." She searched for a word that would not cut too deep. "This pivot is strategic." "Pivot?" I smiled without humor. "Is that what we call it?" Maya swallowed. I tried to talk her down. "I tried last week, yesterday, even this morning." She opened her phone, thumb shaking. She left me on read. Then Ethan's team started messaging her at midnight with a plan about maximizing the moment. They said crisis is a ladder. She looked till saying it. "I can show you the messages if you want, but I do not know if that helps." I did not reach for her phone. I did not want my memory of Olivia's voice braided with marketing copy. "What does helping look like?" I asked, "on a day like this?" Maya surprised me then. She squared her shoulders like someone who has decided to do the right thing even if it burns. "Helping is telling you that you are not crazy," she said. That what you felt for months was real. That she cared more about a story than a marriage. "Helping is getting you out of here with your head high." She took my coat from a hook and held it open. I slid into it because this hallway was cold and because receiving kindness is also an act of pride. We walked out the side door to the parking lot. The sky had that bright, blind blue that makes you think of summer even when the wind is sharp. "Come with me," she said. "There is a diner 2 blocks away. We can sit where people are not performing." At the diner, a waitress named Loretta topped off our coffee without asking questions. Maya told me things in a slow, careful order. The brand deals, the way Olivia's mother pushed for a larger guest list with photographers, the odd insistence on a second dress for content, the quiet freezing out of anyone who questioned the pace. She started using phrases like legacy audience and household name, Maya said, stirring cream into a pale cloud. I asked where you fit in that picture. She said, "Daniel is sweet and dependable. He'll be fine." She grimaced. That sounded like a plan for a pet. I let the coffee warm my hands. I listened as if this were a call over the radio, and I had to chart the scene. I felt my anger settle into something less flammable and more precise. "Thank you," I said, "for saying it to me straight." Maya nodded, eyes bright. "You deserve someone who chooses you in a room full of cameras." She looked at her hands. "We all do." Outside, the wind kicked up. My phone lit with messages I did not open. Across the table, Maya's phone buzzed too. She glanced, and her face drained. "She posted a reel," Maya said. "She called today a courageous step toward authenticity, and she tagged the hotel." I looked at Loretta's chipped nail polish, at the sugar packets, at the tiny flecks of light in the stainless steel edge of the counter. I surprised myself by laughing, a short breath that sounded like fatigue. I was done being an extra in someone else's campaign. I folded a napkin along the crease and met Maya's eyes. "Maya," I said, "tell me what you tried to warn her about." Maya whispered, "I think she planned this with him for weeks." We sat in that booth long enough for the lunch crowd to roll in and the soup to change. When our plates were cleared, I asked the question I had been avoiding. "Why are you still here with me, when everyone else is there with them?" Maya lifted one shoulder. "Because I was your friend too, even if you never noticed." She dipped her head, embarrassed. "Because someone should sit with the person who did not make a spectacle of love. Because I cannot watch her turn betrayal into a brand story." "Did you tell her that?" I asked. "I did," she said. "It cost me." She called me jealous. Maya's mouth tightened. "Maybe I am jealous, but not of Ethan. I am jealous of integrity. I wanted her to have it." A truth moved through me like a slow train. Olivia and I had been building on different blueprints. She was building a landmark. I was building a home. Those can share a view, but not a foundation. We walked from the diner through cold sun. At the crosswalk, Maya stopped. "Daniel, I need to say something awkward." She checked the street, then crossed the words between us like a careful package. "You should take control of your story before she tells it for you." "By posting?" I asked. "By living," she said. "You do not need a stunt. But you could make one clear, adult choice that is yours." "What does that look like?" She was quiet for a beat. Then, "Come with me to the county clerk on Monday. File for a name change if you want. Or file nothing and just stand there together so the story in your life is not what she wrote." She hesitated. "I will stand there with you." We walked on. My brain, trained to triage, sorted what could be done today from what needed daylight and forms. A courthouse wedding on a Saturday is unlikely. Licenses have lead times. I know the boring rules that make real life hold. But I also know vows are not paperwork. Vows are promises you live by when the forms are filed and the friends go home. At my apartment, boxes of favors were stacked like a joke the day had told. Maya helped me carry them inside. The silence was not awkward. It was the kind of silence that has room for two people to breathe. I opened a window and let cold air wash out the scent of eucalyptus and lemon from a diffuser someone had gifted us for good vibes. I made tea, the way I make it for rookies after a rough shift. Maya took her cup in both hands and stared at the steam. "I have another awkward thing," she said, and I braced. "I do not want this to be about revenge. But I also do not want to pretend we did not meet today at a crossroads." She set the cup down. "I like you, Daniel. Not because of what she did. I liked you before. I never said it because some love should stay quiet. But quiet does not mean absent." The room felt warmer. I put my cup down so I would not spill it. "I do not trust my judgment today," I admitted. "But I trust yours." I looked at the crooked bathroom shelf through the open door and felt oddly proud. If we do anything, it has to be for something, not against someone. Maya nodded. "Then promise me this. We move slow, we tell no lies, and we make one choice we can defend to our future selves." I held out my hand. She took it. There is a difference between being held up and being held. I felt it then. The world outside still buzzed with takes and reels and good angles. In this room, we practiced a smaller ritual, saying yes to what deserved it. We looked at the calendar. Monday morning, the clerk's office opened at 9. We could apply for a license. In our state, there was no waiting period. We could ask Maya's cousin, ordained for a cousin's backyard wedding, to meet us at lunchtime. We could invite nobody. We could wear what we owned. We could speak simple words. Maya nodded, brave and calm. "I want our first act together to be quiet and sincere." I said okay, and meant it, down to the bottom. Marry me Monday morning, not for revenge, for us, for truth. We spent Sunday calling exactly 3 people. My mother, my partner at the station, and Maya's cousin, Elena, who had a license to officiate in a backyard with a maple tree that dropped leaves like confetti. My mother asked one long question that was not about scandal at all. "Are you safe in your heart?" I told her yes, with care. She said she would make sandwiches and keep the kettle warm in case we stopped by after. My partner said, "About time you let someone take care of you," then offered to drive us if my hands shook. Elena said she'd bring a small speaker and her dog would wear a bow tie. Monday came with clear light. The county clerk's office smelled like paper and patience. We took a number, sat under a framed photograph of a former councilwoman, and filled out forms that asked us simple things. Names, addresses, yes/no boxes about everything from prior marriages to whether we were cousins. Bureaucracy can be a comfort on days when life feels unregulated. I wrote my name slowly, as if signing it could change the kind of man I was. It did not. It only revealed him. At noon, we stood in Elena's yard in our best clean clothes. Maya wore a blue dress that did not try too hard. I wore the suit I had pressed for a different ceremony. Elena read the words required by law and then words required by us. That we would tell the truth, that we would choose each other in public and in private, that we would not feed our love into the internet for praise or proof. I spoke mine like a person giving a testimony after a rescue. Maya's voice steadied in the middle and lifted at the end. We exchanged plain bands that did not need a caption to be understood. After, we ate sandwiches at my mother's kitchen table and did not take a single photograph. We called the station to say I would be back on Wednesday. We thanked Elena. We went home. It felt like what I think sobriety must feel like on day 1. Clean, difficult, unspectacular, right? The backlash did not wait. By late afternoon, Olivia's reel had evolved into a carousel post and a podcast tease. She implied that I had emotionally checked out months ago, that I lacked ambition, that we were misaligned. The hotel account reposted a photograph of her at a window with a caption about choosing partnerships that reflect your future. I did not reply. I did not subtweet pain. But our quiet decision did not stay quiet. An aunt texted, confused. A cousin wrote a paragraph about loyalty and optics. Someone sent me a screenshot of a group chat where the word rebound was used like a diagnosis. Maya did not flinch. "We will hold still and let the noise pass through us, she said. That night, we organized the apartment. We set aside the favors to donate. We made a list for groceries. At 10, my phone lit up with a number I did not recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Then a message came in from an old college friend who had stayed close to Ethan's circle when the hotel got popular. Hey, the text began. Are you awake? There is something you should see. I called him back. He sounded apologetic and a little excited in the way people get when gossip feels like justice. I do event photography for them sometimes, he said. They use a shared drive for vendors and marketing. Someone forgot to lock it down after the change in plans. What is in it? I asked. Pitch decks, he said. And more. He paused. And a timeline that starts before your wedding invitations went out. I thanked him. We hung up. I looked at Maya. She had her hands around a mug like a prayer bowl, eyes steady over the rim. We will not dox, she said. We will not humiliate. But facts are not cruelty. Facts are stitches. I nodded. I have seen wounds that only closed when someone was brave enough to push the edges together and hold them long enough. Then Liam texted, check the invoice folder Olivia forgot to lock. The shared drive was a map of priorities. Folders named Influencer Collabs, Crisis Comms, Strategic Partnerships, and, at the bottom, a practical treasure, Event Financials. I clicked through like a medic moving from airway to breathing to circulation. The invoices told a plain story. The hotel comped 2 suites and a rehearsal dinner in exchange for 5 posts across 3 platforms and a tagged reel. The florist discounted arrangements by 40% for a promised behind-the-scenes video. A PR firm drafted 2 scripts for narrative realignment in case of unforeseen changes to the ceremony. My name appeared as a variable, like a placeholder label on a product mock-up. There was also a timeline document. It started 9 weeks before the wedding. There were bullet points about soft-launching doubts, suggested lines about recognizing misalignment courageously, and a note, initialed by someone on Ethan's team, telling Olivia to control the first frame. The last page proposed an exclusive interview pitching authenticity in real time. I read it twice to make sure I had not imagined the clinical tone applied to my life. Maya scrolled in tight, angry circles. She asked me to help choose candle holders while this was in a folder, she said softly. She made me write place cards. We found emails between Olivia and a vendor where she negotiated a better rate by promising a viral arc. We found a message to the wedding planner gently preparing her for the pivot with a list of talking points about respecting brave choices. We found a draft reel caption almost identical to the one she posted. At the bottom of the drive, there was a PDF labeled Contingency B, New Partner Reveal. I did not open it. My hands shook for the first time since the aisle. Maya closed the laptop and put both her palms flat on the table. We need to sleep, she said. Truth will still be true in the morning. I slept with the kind of exhaustion that has no dreams. In the morning, the sky had shifted to a mild gray. I called my captain to confirm my return. Then I called my mother and told her we might share some facts publicly. She said, tell the truth as if a judge were listening and a child were learning. That was her way of saying, be careful and be kind. We drafted a statement. It was not clever. It did not drag. It did 4 things. It said what happened. It said what we chose. It said we wished Olivia peace. And it attached a short selection of redacted invoices and the crisis script with names blurred. We did not include the timeline's first page with my name as a variable. We did not need to. The point was not to destroy a person. The point was to reclaim our feet on ground that did not move. Before posting, we sent the statement to 4 people who mattered, our mothers, Elena, and my partner. They told us if any sentence felt like revenge in a pretty coat. We cut 2 that did. When we posted, we disabled comments for 24 hours. We went for a walk to the river, where ducks were doing timeless duck things. It helped to watch beings with no interest in optics. The internet did what it does, judged, praised, theorized. Our phones lit like slot machines. We did not read most of it. A few texts came in that mattered. One from the florist, thank you for not dragging us. We were told it was a mutual pivot. One from the planner, I'm sorry. I had no idea. I will back you if asked. One from a number I did not know that turned out to be a junior PR assistant. They are already trying to spin. But some of us saw. I hope you have peace. That afternoon, a message arrived from Liam, the friend who had first pointed me to the invoices. He asked to meet. We chose a coffee shop on the quiet side of town. He arrived looking like a man who had not slept. He put his phone face down and said, "I need to clear something before it becomes my burden forever." We sat in a corner under a photograph of tall grass. He looked like he might be sick. "The choice yesterday," he said. It was not spontaneous. Ethan wanted a headline that said he stands for brave decisions. He thinks controversy is a high-yield asset. He told me to arrange a moment. I refused. He found someone else. I did not stop it. "I am sorry." Maya's fingers tightened around my wrist under the table. I breathed the way I teach. Liam swallowed. "If you want me to say this out loud beyond this booth, I will." I nodded once. "We will do this without cruelty," I said. "But we will not pretend it did not happen. Tomorrow, we show the receipts, and we do it calmly." Liam insisted on paying for his own coffee and told the barista he'd tip in cash. He said he didn't want his card popping up in anyone's audit trail later. That small caution told me he understood the stakes. We set our phones on airplane mode so we wouldn't get ambushed mid-sentence by notifications that changed the temperature of a room. "Here's what I can do," he said, fingers laced tight. "I can write a statement that says I was asked to facilitate a moment that would generate headlines. I refused, and I saw planning documents that treated your relationship like raw material." He breathed out. "I won't guess motives. I'll only say what I saw." "Facts and only facts," I said. "No adjectives." Maya's jaw worked, holding back old anger and new restraint. "We'll redact names that aren't public figures," she added. "No collateral damage." Liam nodded, relieved. We agreed he'd email a signed statement tonight, and we would share it only alongside materials that were already circulating from our earlier post. We shook hands. It felt like sealing a fracture. Back at the apartment, we built a folder labeled Evidence, Quiet, and then laughed at ourselves because nothing about the internet is quiet. We made a checklist my mother would love. Invoices with amounts and terms, crisis script draft with identifying footer removed, the email that used control the first frame, and 3 screenshots of Olivia bargaining for discounted services in exchange for a viral arc. We blacked out employee names and any detail that would make some intern's life burn. We wrote a caption that sounded like 2 adults, not aggrieved teenagers. "We won't litigate our history online. But for clarity, here are the documents at the center of yesterday's confusion. We wish everyone well." Maya added a line that stunned me with its grace. "Please do not attack vendors or staff. They were working with the information they had." Before posting, I went in for a short afternoon shift because a colleague's kid had a recital and covering meant he didn't miss it. On the way to a call, a fainting spell at a hardware store, Maya texted a draft of the caption with one more edit. "No hearts, no emojis," she wrote. Plain font, plain truth. The call was straightforward: dehydration, embarrassment, a ride to urgent care, and a joke about how drills look heavier when the room spins. In the mirror of the rig, I looked like a man who had slept and chosen. On break, I washed my hands until the scent of antiseptic replaced eucalyptus in my head. When I came home, Maya was at the table with her laptop open to a paused video. Olivia on a podcast, recorded weeks earlier, saying how her audience deserves to watch bravery in real time. We sat side by side, carved out the part that mentioned no one by name, but made the plan clear and decided not to include it. "We can win without that," Maya said. "We'll win by being proportional." We posted our packet at 5 p.m., disabled comments again, and turned off our phones. We cooked a big, calm dinner like people do when they're preparing for a storm by stocking the pantry of their nerves: roast chicken, potatoes, peas. We ate on the sofa and watched a nature documentary about migratory birds who navigate by stars and magnetism. When the narrator said, "They trust what doesn't shout," I nodded like he'd been hired to speak directly to us. At 8:30, my doorbell rang with the decisive press of someone used to being let in. I checked the peephole and saw a woman in a camel coat with hair sprayed into compliance. Behind her, a man whose tie looked like a warning. I opened the door. "Daniel," she said, voice tight with a smile. "I'm Marianne, Olivia's mother. This is Arthur, our family friend." Arthur presented a card that said Conflict Counsel in tasteful serif. "We'd like to clear up misunderstandings before they calcify publicly," Marianne said, stepping forward without being invited. Maya joined me in the doorway. "We can meet at a neutral place tomorrow," she said. We won't host a legal chat in our living room. Marianne blinked at the word hour. Then she gave a brittle laugh. Of course, she said. Neutral. Tomorrow. We offered the diner down the street. She offered her club. We countered with the library's public meeting room. She flinched. We settled on the church hall where the AA group meets on Tuesdays, the only place in town where gossip feels like blasphemy. She pulled her coat tighter, assessing the room, the rings on our hands, the absence of wedding photos like a detective notices what isn't there. 9 a.m., she said. After the door closed, we stood a moment in silence. Then Maya said, we bring printed copies. And Liam, I said. And patience, she added. We slept lightly, like people who expect a knock, and woke before the alarm, already dressed in restraint. Olivia's mother called, voice icy, demanding a private meeting tonight. No excuses. The church hall smelled faintly of coffee and old hymnals. Fold-up chairs made a circle, like every meeting that's ever saved anyone from themselves. Marianne arrived 5 minutes early with Arthur and a neat stack of papers in a leather folio. Olivia came 2 minutes after them, phone in her hand, eyes scanning the room as if it were a set. She wore the beige of good taste and the expression of someone who has practiced contrition without intending to change. Liam slipped in behind us, hands in pockets, suddenly younger. Thank you for meeting, Arthur said, setting the folio down like an altar. We're here to prevent reputational harm on all sides. He smiled at the phrase like a man pleased with his own dental work. There seemed to be documents circulating without context. Context, I said, is what we brought. I put our manila folder on the table. Printed invoices with dollar amounts visible, but names grayed out. The crisis script with the footer cropped. Liam's signed statement on simple paper. Our one-page timeline with exactly 4 dates. Date negotiations began. Date the PR firm was engaged. Date Olivia asked the planner to prepare for a pivot. Date of the wedding. I looked at Olivia, not at her mother. This is what we will stand by. Maya cleared her throat. We also brought the florist's note and the planner's text approving us to share it, she said. We're not dragging vendors. We're protecting them from being blamed for decisions they didn't make. Olivia shot a quick look at Arthur. He folded his hands. There is a world where this is simply a matter of creative differences, he said, where we all say what we must to move on. Creative differences do not explain a script prepared to control the first frame, Liam said, voice shaking but true. They don't explain an assistant told to craft a courage arc for a Monday morning interview. Olivia's mother slapped the table lightly. Enough, she said. We can all agree mistakes were made, but airing dirty laundry helps no one. She turned to me, modulating her tone. Daniel, honey, we were always fond of you. But you have to see that this marriage, she swept her hand toward Maya, complicates your position. It looks reactive. It looks opportunistic. Maya's spine lengthened like a line drawn straight. We could have kept this private forever, she said. We chose to make a small public statement only after Olivia reframed a betrayal as a brand value. Olivia sighed into her phone. You're so dramatic, Maya, she said. As always. You staged a choice at the altar, Maya said. No heat, just air leaving a balloon. And called it bravery. Arthur leaned forward. We're prepared to issue a joint statement emphasizing mutual respect and divergent paths, he said, sliding a printed draft across the table. In exchange, you agree to remove your posts and refrain from further publication of proprietary materials. Proprietary? I asked. You mean invoices and a draft script that were emailed to third parties? They are part of ongoing business relationships, he said. I thought about the AA posters on the wall. Keep it simple. One day at a time. I thought about my patients whose bodies tell truths long before their mouths dare. I pulled a pen from my pocket and circled 3 phrases in their draft. Misalignment, courage, private matter. This reads like a non-apology apology, I said. We'll issue our own. Marianne's lips thinned. You do realize you're making enemies you don't need, she said. This city has a long memory. So do we, Maya said. We remember who chose a camera over a person. Liam spoke up, surprising all of us. I'll go on record, he said. If you try to bury this with spin, I'll attach my name to my statement online. Arthur's smile froze. Olivia's eyes flickered. Marianne's hands clenched on the folio. We stood. I thanked them for meeting. We shook no hands. At the door, Olivia caught my sleeve. Her voice lowered, urgent and private for the first time since the aisle. You're better at calm than anyone I've known, she said. Use it. This will pass. It will, I said, because we're telling the truth. She stared like she wanted to find an old version of me she could lean on. I'm not a prop, I thought. I'm a person. I walked out into morning light that felt like it belonged to new hours. By lunchtime, the florist posted a gentle clarification. Discounts are standard in exchange for tags. They do not condone weaponizing ceremonies. The planner liked our statement without comment. The assistant who'd texted me before sent a screenshot of a parallel draft press release. Tomorrow, 12 noon, announcing a values-led partnership and an authentic transition story, then apologized for sending it. At 3:17, an email hit our shared inbox from a law firm I recognized from billboards on the freeway, subject line in all caps. Ethan's legal counsel emailed a cease and desist with tomorrow's press release attached. We did not panic. Panic makes people loud. We went for a walk instead, learned the names on the churchyard stones, named the street cats we'd seen 100 times but never properly noticed. Boots, Marmalade, Senator. Back home, we read the letter out loud like a spell you cancel by pronouncing every syllable. The first paragraph accused us of interfering with business expectancy. The second warned of swift legal action. The third offered a path to peace if we would remove misleading materials and join a unified messaging plan. The fourth enclosed the draft release. Glossy phrases, hollow center. We need counsel, Maya said, practical as a tourniquet. I called an acquaintance, Marisol, a medic who'd left the field for law school and now did media and employment work. She answered on the second ring. I've been following, and I hate that I am, she said. Send me everything. My first question is easy. Is it true? We told her it was. Then here's your backbone, she said. Truth isn't defamation. Don't make new claims. Don't guess motives. Don't gloat. You're already doing that. Reply with a short note that you'll continue speaking truthfully and you'll defend yourselves if necessary. We drafted exactly that. Marisol cut 2 adjectives. We sent it. We scheduled a free consult for the next morning, not because we expected to be sued, but because sleeping with a plan is better than sleeping with fear. That afternoon, the junior PR assistant, the one who'd texted us twice, asked if she could call. Her voice trembled with that particular courage of people who've decided to stop rubber stamping harm. They're going to paint you as small, she said. They're going to say you couldn't handle the spotlight and that you're retaliating. But internally, everyone knows this was orchestrated. There's even a slide titled Managing Backlash Without Overcorrection. She exhaled. I don't want my name out there. I just needed someone to know they know. We'll protect you, Maya said. Go home on time. Drink water. Write down what you see in an email to yourself in case you ever need it. That's all. After we hung up, we made soup. We folded laundry. We put the manila folder back in the drawer and placed 2 clean towels on top of it like dignity. At 7, my partner called from the station with a voice that meant everything was fine and he was just checking. Your calm is contagious, you know, he said, even through a screen. I told him calm isn't my nature. It's my practice. Well, he said, keep practicing. We went to bed reading paperback mysteries borrowed from the library, where the murderer always confesses on a rainy night and nobody scrolls through the plot while it happens. I slept for 6 straight hours, which felt like a gift wrapped in brown paper. At 5:30, the birds began their shift. At 8, our phones buzzed with 2 messages that mattered. Marisol's, I'm on standby if you need me, and a forwarded email from the planner to Olivia. Please consider the long-term cost of short-term content. We were slicing oranges at the counter when a new message slid into Maya's DMs, blue checkmark attached. It was brief and disarmingly polite, signed only with a first initial but unmistakable. Can we meet? It read. I believe a conversation would be mutually beneficial. Public places are fine. We looked at each other. We do not bargain with bullies, I thought. But sometimes you look a storm in the eye and name it aloud so it doesn't own your house from the shadows. 1 hour, on our terms, in daylight, Maya said. 3 witnesses, I added. No recordings. We bring a notepad and sign our notes after. She texted back. Public library, noon, reading room. 1 hour. We bring a third party. No NDAs. No recordings. Agreed? The reply came in under a minute. Agreed. I sharpened a pencil from the junk drawer like I was preparing for midterms. Maya laid out a clean sheet of paper. At the top, she wrote the date, the place, and one sentence that felt like steel wrapped in velvet. We are here to listen and to state truths, not to trade threats. At 11:58, we took seats at a big wooden table where the rules are printed on placards and silence is a civic duty. A direct message arrives from Ethan himself, asking to meet alone. He arrived alone, though I didn't believe for a second he'd truly come without insurance. He looked smaller without a lobby behind him, a man choosing his volume by the room he's in. He sat, smoothed his tie, and smiled with 2/3 of his mouth. "Thank you," he began, pitched low so the librarian wouldn't shush him. "I think we've all suffered enough." "I've bled before," I said. "I prefer stitches to bandages." Maya placed the notepad in the middle, wrote the time, and nodded for him to proceed. He tried 3 angles in 15 minutes. First, the benevolent leader. "No one wanted this," he said. "Sometimes great stories write themselves, and sometimes they need a push, but only when everyone benefits." Maya tilted her head like a teacher waiting for a student to find the real answer. Second, the magnanimous fixer. "I can make this right for you," he said, sliding an envelope onto the table without opening it. "Clean exit. Expenses covered. Quiet agreement. Fresh start." I didn't touch it. "I'm not for sale," I said. "Neither is the truth." Third, the wounded visionary. "Do you know how many jobs my properties create?" His hands opened in a consultant's measure of impact. "Do you know how hard it is to keep a brand alive in a market this fickle? Sometimes backlash is a fee you pay for progress. Some people aren't built for that." He glanced at me the way people test a fence for weak boards. I let the silence return to us like a tide. The librarian glanced up and smiled warningly. Maya slid the notepad to him. "Initial here to confirm you offered a payment for removal of publicly posted true documents," she said, tone like glass. He flinched. "I didn't say that," he answered. "I offered a path to peace." She wrote his phrasing verbatim. "We'll include your exact words if asked," she said. He drummed his fingers and then made the smallest mistake a person like him can make. He showed boredom. "Fine," he said. "Let's be practical. You don't want to be known for this. She doesn't either. Agree to the joint statement. My counsel sent a draft, and we'll all be done." "I don't want to be known for this," I said, "but I'm willing to be known for the way I handled this." I looked at the window, where a maple outside was rattling its leaves like applause. "We're not here to negotiate silence. We're here to confirm that what we've shared is true." He switched tactics, finally honest in the way cornered people can be. "Olivia isn't built like you," he said quietly. "She feeds on attention because that's the currency she knows. I wanted to harness that, not hurt you. But the moment got hot. It happens. You're a paramedic. You know the room changes when the siren kicks." "I know the difference between urgency and a stunt," I said. "I know the difference between saving a life and performing one." His jaw tightened. He stood. "You'll be hearing from counsel," he said, taking the envelope back. He paused, then added, like a man who thinks empathy is a coupon redeemable anywhere. "For what it's worth, I respect your composure." "Spend that respect on your staff," Maya said. "They're terrified." He left without shaking hands. We sat for a minute, letting our pulses slow. Maya signed the notes and slid them to me. I signed. We both dated the bottom. We took a photograph of the page with the library clock in the background, then put the phone away. Procedure comforts me. So does paper. On my shift that evening, we answered a call for a panic attack in a parking garage. A teenager sat on the concrete with his head between his knees, hearing ghosts of what strangers had said about him an hour earlier. "Look at this," I told him, pointing at the crease of a leaf caught under the tire by his shoe. "That's a perfect line. Your body made it sharper just by being here." He lifted his head. He breathed in, out, in. "You won't die of this," I said, "but you have to treat it." He nodded, wiped his face, promised to drink water and delete the comment thread. In the ambulance mirror, I caught my own eyes and nodded back. Near midnight, my phone buzzed as we restocked gauze. Maya sent one sentence. "You should see what she just posted." I opened the link and watched a small window into a big mess. Olivia was live, shaky camera, eyeliner blurring at the edges. Her voice pitched to a register that breaks glass and patience. "I have been manipulated," she said, not naming us but making sure the shape of us was clear. My so-called friend has always been jealous. She orchestrated this. She stole my fiancé to punish me. I felt that old draft move through me again. The one from before this began. The cold that finds you when a door opens and someone forgets to close it. Olivia posts a shaky live video, accusing Maya of orchestrating everything. Maya watched the live on mute first, a trick she'd learned from a therapist who specialized in digital boundary setting. Watch posture before words, regulate breath before meaning. She's trying to make me the story, she said. I won't be. We made tea. Not because tea solves accusation, but because ritual gives shape to hours that would otherwise spill. We didn't answer calls. We didn't read comments. We wrote, slowly. At 2 a.m. We posted 3 screenshots with timestamps, names cropped. First, a text from Maya to Olivia 3 weeks before the wedding, saying, I'm worried you're chasing optics over a person. Please slow down. We can workshop sponsorships after vows. Second, a voicemail transcription from Olivia. I know what I'm doing. Please stop questioning my vision. Followed by a heart emoji. Third, an email from Maya to the planner the night before the wedding. I have concerns. If a pivot is being considered, please, for everyone's sake, cancel instead. We captioned, clarification, not escalation. We will not be going live. May we all choose kindness when we can and boundaries when we must. We disabled comments again. At 8, Marisol called. Perfect, she said. Proportionate. You didn't speculate. You let documents speak. Stay boring. Boring wins. Then she added, I heard from a colleague. The chains board has an emergency call at 10. We went for a walk along the river, counting dogs and sweaters, practicing being people whose lives contain more than trouble. In the afternoon, the junior assistant texted a single sentence. Thank you for not naming me. Then, they're in meltdown. We had our first real fight that evening, not because of Olivia, but because of exhaustion. I wanted to go dark for a week and let glass settle. Maya wanted to write a longer piece about how women are punished both for speaking and for leaving and for choosing quiet happiness without permission slips. If we don't say more, they'll fill the gap, she said. If we say more, we feed the machine, I countered. We stood at the sink with plates in our hands like shields. I won't let them define you, she said. I won't let them define us, I said back. The difference sat between us like a chair no one wanted to claim. We paused, hands still in suds. Okay, she said first, rinsing a plate the way she rinses feelings, thoroughly, gently. What's the smallest true thing we can say that helps someone else while not undressing our life for strangers? I thought about my panic attack kid and the leaf under his shoe. We can write about how to breathe when your name is trending, I said. We can write about checking your facts before you check your enemies. We can write about making a sandwich and sleeping. We wrote those 3 paragraphs together, posted them without images, and logged off. By morning, 2 things happened. First, 3 vendors posted quiet affirmations of our approach. No tagging, no sides, just language like, kindness matters in business. Second, a journalist at a local paper, the one who still covers school board meetings and ribbon cuttings with equal respect, emailed to ask if we'd sit for an on-the-record interview focused on ethics in events marketing. No salacious angles, she promised. We're looking at the industry, not your living room. We said yes, on the condition that we could review quotes for accuracy. She agreed. At 10, the junior assistant texted one word, update. A minute later, she followed with a screenshot of an internal memo, no names beyond the executive team, no watermarks we'd have to blur, announcing a special board session. The subject line didn't crow, it simply read, Emergency Governance Review. We went to the library again because libraries are where we remember we belong to something sane. We returned mystery novels. We sat at the same table and didn't mention the maple rattling its leaves like applause. We waited without refreshing. At noon, my partner sent a link to a trade publication that serves the hospitality industry. Then Marisol called. Then the assistant texted a final line with 3 dots like a drum roll that finally stopped. We opened the publication in the quiet of the reading room and read the brief statement twice, each time slower. The hotel chains board opens an internal review and suspends Ethan pending findings, effective immediately. The article was only 3 paragraphs, but it landed like a gavel. The board had initiated an internal review and suspended the chief executive of regional operations pending findings. It named no one, but left no doubt. I read it twice, then once aloud so my lungs could learn the shape of this new air. Maya exhaled in a long ribbon and pressed her forehead to mine. Proportion, she whispered. This is proportion. We didn't cheer. We didn't post. We made oatmeal and answered 2 messages. A thank you to the planner for her courage, and a brief note to the junior assistant. We see you. Please look after yourself. The unraveling came like all unravelings do, quietly at first, then with the clatter of things that were never firmly attached. Olivia's bravery post lost its shine when vendors and staff began to speak in measured, careful sentences about contracts and timelines. A cousin who had mocked our small ceremony sent a private apology that read like it took 3 drafts to remove excuses. Marian stopped calling and started emailing clipped sentences about ongoing considerations, which is how people say they've shifted from emotions to optics. Arthur sent one more letter full of words that sounded like furniture, solid, heavy, movable only with help. Liam posted his statement under his own name, shaky but whole. I was asked to facilitate a moment for publicity, he wrote. I refused. I witnessed planning that treated people like parts. He didn't use adjectives. He didn't invoke motives. He simply described what he saw, then turned off comments. The next day, his boss reassigned him away from hotel accounts. By evening, he'd given notice and texted us a photo of his resignation letter, printed on plain paper, signed with a pen that left a small blot where his hand must have trembled. Better to be underemployed than under oath all the time. He joked, and we sent him grocery money without making it a scene. The journalist from the local paper kept her promise. Her piece focused on the industry, the rise of performative authenticity, the pressure to monetize milestones, the toll on staff asked to frame harm as engagement. Our names appeared only in a sidebar that said we declined to be profiled and requested accuracy over drama. The comments under that article, I broke our rule and read them, were dull in the best way. People talking about contracts, ethics, norms. It felt like standing in a room where grown-ups were fixing plumbing instead of filming the leak. Olivia tried one more live, softer this time, less eyeliner, more couch. She talked about learning curves and the pain of growth, then asked for privacy while we heal. No one clapped. The hotel's main account posted a photo of a sunrise with a caption about commitment to community, which told us a lawyer had found their password. By evening, the board's statement trended in the industry feeds while our names did not. That was the win. We ate soup. We took a slow walk. We sorted the favors into donation boxes and tied them with string because neatness is a kindness we can afford ourselves. At the bottom of one box, I found the place cards Maya had lettered for our reception that never happened. She had made my name simple, steady, dark. She had written Olivia's like a flourish trying to become a signature. My phone buzzed with a number I still knew by heart even after deleting it. I let it roll to voicemail. Then a text appeared, a blue rectangle of past and present pushing against our kitchen light, simple and strangely human in a week that had felt like a press conference. Olivia texted one line. I need help. Please, just hear me out. We chose a booth at the diner where Loretta knows how much coffee to pour for complicated mornings. We arrived first and sat side by side, a tactic paramedics use when a scene might turn. It's harder to play to an audience when the audience is shoulder to shoulder. Olivia came in wearing the uniform of contrition. No makeup, hair pulled back, hoodie soft with age, and still she looked like a person studying herself through other people's eyes. She slid into the opposite bench and gripped her mug like proof she was human. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then she exhaled words in a rush. I messed up, she said. I got spun around. Everyone was telling me there was a way to be seen and paid at the same time, and I believed them because I wanted the work of being loved to be easier. She swallowed. I'm not asking you to retract. I'm asking you to stop. I can't breathe. Maya kept her voice low. You can breathe, she said. But breathing begins with truth. Say the sentence the right way, not the brand way. Olivia's eyes found mine. I hurt you, she said, the first plain sentence we'd heard from her in months. I humiliated you publicly because I wanted to be someone bigger than my actual life. I chose a moment over a man. She looked down at her hands, nails bitten to the quick. I cannot fix what I broke. I can only stop making it break more. So stop, I said. Stop posting. Stop hiring people to art direct remorse. Stop framing harm as growth. I kept my voice even because mercy lands best when it doesn't raise its volume. We aren't suing you. We aren't chasing you. We're asking you to let truth win without extra choreography. She nodded, tears skimming there but not falling. Could you at least remove my first name from the documents? She asked. I know it's redacted. I know it doesn't matter. It would help me sleep. Maya and I exchanged a look. We can replace it with the bride, Maya said. Not to protect you, because we already did, but to protect our peace. Olivia finished her coffee in 3 careful sips, placed money under the mug, and left without hugging anyone. The door chimed its small, democratic chime. We sat for a while in the aftermath you get after a storm decides to go ruin someone else's picnic. Loretta topped off our mugs, a secular blessing. Back home, the fight we postponed arrived like a bill left in a drawer. We'd been close and united for days, which is its own kind of strain if you never name it. I told Maya I was proud of her at the diner, proud of how she held a boundary without turning it into a weapon. She nodded, then stared at the sink like it had answers. I'm not worried about her anymore, she said. I'm worried about us. Us? I asked, too quickly. She turned, eyes bright and not kind. You were the love story she edited for clout, she said. I stepped in after the cut. I know what we are. I know what I am to you. But sometimes when the apartment is dark and your phone lights up, I feel like a second choice who happened to get paperwork. Jealousy is a small, sharp thing. It's also a sign something matters. I set the dish down and dried my hands. You were the person who told me the truth in a room full of lies, I said. You were my ally before you were my wife. She shook her head. That's not the same as being chosen first, she said. Say the hard thing out loud. I breathed the way I teach. Okay, I said. I'm scared I'll always be the man known for a wedding he left and not the one he made. I'm scared I'll fail you because I'm good at calm and bad at joy. I'm scared people will assume I married you to win something we weren't playing. Maya nodded once, decision flashing through her like steady current. Then say this too, she said, stepping closer, not rescuing me from saying it wrong. Say I am your first choice now, and I will be tomorrow. I met her eyes and gave her the only vow that counts after the paperwork is filed and the phone dies and the kettle cools. You are my first choice now, and you will be tomorrow. She breathed out like someone stepping off a ledge onto firm ground. But a question still hovered in the room, as sincere and unignorable as a smoke alarm we hadn't yet located. I need to know I'm not your second choice forever. We didn't patch that sentence with reassurance. We sat with it until it turned from accusation into invitation. The next morning, we started small. We wrote a list titled First Choice Behaviors and pinned it to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a tomato. It had unglamorous verbs: ask, listen, check in, invite, decline, rest. We set 2 weekly rituals. Wednesday night ramen at the tiny place near the bus depot, no phones. Sunday morning walks along the river, weather be damned. I changed the lock screen on my phone from a photo I hadn't realized still gnawed to a picture of the maple in Elena's yard. Maya changed hers to the crooked bathroom shelf I'd built years ago, which made us both laugh because love is, indeed, an object that leans and still holds. Consequences rippled quietly through our circles. 2 people unfriended me with the public flair of unsubscribing from a newsletter. 3 others reached out with apologies that didn't ask for work from us. A neighbor knocked on our door with a casserole and a blunt benediction. I liked you before all this. I like you after. Liam emailed a screenshot of his job acceptance at a smaller agency that pays less but promises no activations. The junior assistant wrote a final, careful note. She was leaving, not in protest, but for a place where the first question in meetings isn't, "What will this look like on camera?" She thanked us for not using her name. We replied with the gift that costs nothing and matters. We believe you. The journalist's industry piece kept traveling. A seminar at the community college asked if we'd join a panel on ethics in event planning. We declined, recommending the planner instead. She texted afterward, "It went well. People don't want to be cynical. They want rules that protect hearts." We sent a bouquet with a card that said, "For your courage when the room was tilting." She posted nothing. We liked that. Maya and I had 2 more arguments, each smaller than the last, both ending with the same practice. We wrote what we meant before we said it. then read it to each other at the table like vows in pencil. She told me she feared being stuck as a symbol. I told her I feared being punished for calm when heat would be easier to recognize as care. We solved neither fear in one sitting. We moved the magnet down the list and did the dishes. On a Tuesday evening with rain making the streetlights look closer than they were, my mother stopped by with envelopes and cookies. "Two came to my house by mistake," she said, setting mail on our table like presents. One was from the county clerk, a reminder to file a name change variance if we wanted to hyphenate. The other was a hand address card with no return address. Inside, in blocky pen, was a single sentence from someone we would never identify. "Thank you for making truth look calm." We taped it inside a cupboard where only we'd see it. We started saying yes again to small invitations, to a neighbor's birthday game night, to a movie at the park with folding chairs, to a potluck where people talked about potholes and school levies and the best hardware store. At each, someone would ask gently, "How are you?" And we learned to answer, "We're okay," and mean it without selling a story. One afternoon, on our walk, we passed a lawn where a child's party was winding down. A paper banner sagged between two trees, "Celebrate what's real." Maya squeezed my hand. "We could do that," she said, voice careful. "Not a redo. Not a content day. A small celebration with the few who stood in the quiet with us." I pictured Elena's maple, Liam's unsure smile growing steadier, my mother's kettle, the planner sitting on a folding chair in sneakers, Loretta bringing a pie because she refuses to come anywhere empty-handed, the junior assistant sending a card from far away because showing up isn't always a body. I pictured no speeches, no sponsor tags, no hashtags and frosting. Maya looked at me, hope threaded through caution. Should we plan a real celebration? We set a date 2 months out, on a Saturday that promised no significance beyond decent weather and the simple geometry of calendars. We made a list of guests that fit on one sheet of paper and never spilled onto a second. Invitations were handwritten on stationery from the drugstore, stamped with the post office's seasonal birds. We borrowed folding chairs from the church hall and a string of lights from the neighbor who throws block parties for no reason except that people deserve lemonade under bulbs. Elena offered her yard again, maple still generous. "I'll say exactly the words you asked for," she promised, and not one extra syllable. We wrote a 3-minute script together, the legal line, then the human one. We choose each other when no one is watching. We will never turn our home into a stage. We will ask for help before we go hungry for attention. Maya found a dress at a consignment shop and hemmed it herself while a radio station played old songs about staying. I pressed my suit again, this time without superstition or dread. We established rules for the day that felt like guardrails instead of fences. No phones during vows. No posts afterward until tomorrow. No gifts except a small note if someone insisted. We bought 2 cakes from the bakery near the bus depot and asked them to write nothing in icing. The baker laughed and said, "Silence is extra." We paid anyway because sometimes the joke deserves a tip. My mother brought sandwiches. Liam brought a grocery store bouquet wrapped in brown paper. The planner brought her kid who ran in wide circles, and Loretta brought a pie with a crust like lace. When it was time, we gathered under the maple. The dog wore a bow tie again because that had become a tradition by accident. Elena spoke the legal sentence, then nodded to us. I looked at Maya and saw not my rescue but my partner, not a rebuttal but a beginning. We said our promises without decoration. There was a moment after, the kind you can miss if you're waiting for applause, when the air itself seems to settle around the shape of your choice. We stood in it until someone laughed, and someone else cried, and the dog sneezed, breaking the spell in the most ordinary way. After, people ate, and the table buzzed with the civic sound of forks and low conversation. A breeze lifted the edges of the paper plates. The string lights clicked on at dusk without anyone's performance of flipping a switch. A neighbor wandered over with a guitar and played the song we'd slow dance to once in our old living room when we thought the radiator was going to explode. It didn't. We danced anyway. We collected notes in a wooden bowl, brief lines about integrity, inside jokes, a doodle of our crooked bathroom shelf, a printed quote from the local paper's ethics piece, a cutout from a seminar flyer where someone had circled rules that protect hearts. We didn't open them then. We wanted to keep some sweetness sealed until the kitchen was quiet, and the chairs were in the shed and the dog had gone home. When the last guest left, I walked the block with the garbage bag because part of love is hauling what remains and not calling it a burden. Back inside, Maya stood under the string lights we'd temporarily stapled to the eaves, hair coming loose, shoes in her hand, looking like the photograph no one took and everyone will remember anyway. I thought about how, months ago, she'd asked me to make one choice we could defend to our future selves. We had made several since. We sat at the table and cut into the second cake with the cheaper frosting that tastes better the day after, and I reached into my pocket where paper had warmed against my leg since morning, because saying something matters more when you write it down. Before we ate cake, I handed Maya a letter I'd written. I wrote it in the early light earlier that week, when the street was empty except for the newspaper delivery car and the kid on a skateboard who uses sidewalks like prayer rugs. The letter was short because, as I've learned in ambulances and under maples, short words carry heavy things best. I told Maya that I didn't fall in love with her because of a stunt or a wound. I fell because she told inconvenient truths without performing them. I told her calm is not my personality but my practice, and I want to practice joy with the same rigor. I told her I choose her in rooms with cameras, and in rooms with sinks full of dishes, and in rooms with folding chairs that hold stories heavier than their aluminum should allow. I told her I will fail, and I will apologize, and I will keep the magnet on the list. She read it twice, then put it back in the envelope like people do with good news they plan to reread on hard mornings. "This is my favorite content," she said, and we both laughed at the word, transformed by use. We washed plates. We stacked chairs. We took down the lights. We walked the last guest to the sidewalk and stood on the porch for a minute in the thin applause of crickets. Ordinary life returned with its unpaid bills and its late buses and its small kindnesses, and we welcomed it like a friend who'd been kept waiting by our drama. Weeks passed. The board finished its review and issued a report full of phrases like process failures and corrective action, which is how institutions admit they hired charisma instead of character. Olivia began teaching small classes on storytelling at the community center. Sometimes we saw her across the farmer's market and nodded the way people do when they agree to be part of the same town without being part of the same story. Marion never wrote again. The junior assistant sent a postcard with a skyline I didn't recognize and a single line. "I start next week. Thank you for believing me," which we taped beside the cupboard card where only we'd see it. Liam came over for ramen and looked more like himself than he had under high ceilings. If I were writing this for an audience who needed tidy morals and glittering takeaways, I'd polish the edges and sell you a life hack with a bow. But the truth we lived feels better in the hand than in the headline. When your name spins in the mouths of strangers, hold still. When someone tries to turn you into a plot device, step out of frame. Keep your evidence. Love your people. Disable your comments. Drink your water. And let boring win. If someone asks for kindness and they mean a hall pass for harm, say no. If someone asks for kindness and means a clean chance to do better, let yes fit in your mouth without tasting like surrender. Choose the person who chooses you when nothing about choosing is exciting. We clean the kitchen, put the notes back in the bowl, and set 2 mugs by the kettle for morning like a promise you keep at room temperature. Tomorrow we plant a tree by the river and start counting seasons.